everyone. We are back.
We are back. This time with a second mic.
Yeah, we are working on, I don't know if you noticed. Probably not. It might be weird with the.
Well, I mean, it should be noticeable. There's not an
I
echo
hope
anymore.
so we have acquired a second mic, and hopefully that will boost the audio quality. We're going to try it out for a little bit and see if it works.
Yeah, so be sure to let us know.
And
Leave
yeah.
us a review on Apple Podcasts if you're listening on that.
So last week we left off on the investigator Chambliss finding out that there was female DNA on the letter, and he began to look into Michael Langford's sister, Abby Langford. And jumping back into that, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what the DNA results said. It wasn't a match. I'm sorry.
Well, who was it then?
So,
Was it just some random person who like handled it at the post office or something?
it very well could have been. It could have come from anywhere. I mean, it was mailed to the Broaddus family home. So just because there was female DNA on it doesn't mean that the writer was a female or a male. So take it with a grain of salt, but that was really the only tangible forensic evidence, quote unquote, they had. Really any evidence at all for anything. So
yeah.
It was a super bummer, obviously, because they didn't have a match for who could have been involved, and they could have ruled out the post office, but. So at this point, the prosecutor's office actually declared to the Broadduses that they had ruled out the Langfords as suspects altogether, but they didn't give a reason as to why.
Okay.
So now the DNA.
I still think it was them. I don't know
Allegedly.
who it was, honestly.
So like now they don't have a match for the DNA. DNA really could have been anybody, and the only quote unquote suspect that the family had for the Watcher has been ruled out by authorities. So it's looking really dim for them.
This seems like a what's that old TV show? Oh no. I blanked on it. It was just in the front of my mind. Like CSI Miami or something. Like one of like just all of a sudden they get a mysterious letter. And the one person they thought it was with evidence is like, oh no, just some random person.
Just some random dude.
And then now they have nothing.
And
Or no,
now-
like an episode of Dexter. It's kind of like the beginning of Dexter, actually.
Oh, I never watched Dexter.
You should. It's a great show. Up to like season.
Yeah, I was
6.
gonna say I've heard really bad things about like the later seasons, and I don't like getting into shows that will disappoint me.
Like honestly, like you could probably watch just the first 2 seasons and be totally satisfied with that show.
I think my mom used to watch it a lot.
So
I
good.
think she was super into it.
I should rewatch it. That was back when Netflix was only doing DVDs. They would mail you DVDs.
I forgot they mailed.
Yeah,
do they still do that?
They do actually. They actually have a plan to where you can get either just DVDs, or you can have
The
streaming and
service.
DVDs.
Weird. No, we used to do that. We did that for a little while when it first came out. Netflix. We used to.
That was back when Blockbuster was still around.
Lord, it almost made a comeback. Rest in peace, Blockbuster. Blockbuster.
Blockbuster. I miss Blockbuster.
So, interestingly enough, the ruling out of the Langfords came almost immediately after the Broaddus family filed for civil charges against the Langfords. I don't exactly know what the civil charges were for. I think that's still kept,
I assume it's for them to get their money back from the house.
Well, that would be for the Woods.
Oh, right.
Because the Langfords are the neighbors. Yeah.
The neighbors.
So
right.
So I'm not sure if it was like, I don't really know what they would file for.
I don't know. Homeowners Association violation?
Maybe. I don't know.
I know like the Homeowners Association for whatever reason has a lot of
I hate them.
Weird power.
I hate them.
Same.
It's like a union for your neighborhood, but not a good union.
But it's like, oh, you parked 2 centimeters in your grass violation. Here's a $40 fine for parking in your own grass.
Ridiculous. So at this point, the family reopened their own investigation because they're like, nothing's happening. People are getting ruled out that we don't think should be ruled out. We don't really have any help in this matter, is kind of how they're feeling at this point. They took different avenues to find any information they could. They took a copy of the letters around the neighborhood, searching for anyone who might actually recognize the handwriting. Which, okay, I feel like if somebody did, they probably wouldn't come out and say, "Oh yeah, that's my uncle who's been writing you weird letters." You know.
I mean,
Well, I mean, I guess they didn't know about it at this point because I think they kept it a secret for as long as they could. But
but, like, who just memorizes people's handwriting?
I don't even
Unless
know
it's,
my
like
handwriting.
right, but, like, unless it's, like,
Just like
completely
super
distinct,
distinctive.
like, rather than doing, like, a normal T, they, like,
Right.
squiggle it out or something.
Squiggle it out, give it a little
I mean, I do
swirly on
my
the
T's
end.
differently than a lot of people. Like, my T's, rather than just being, like,
Yeah.
essentially just an L shape, like, the top part of the T, I curve it up at, like, a 45-degree angle, oddly enough.
Why are you like
I
this?
don't know. I just think it looks better to me.
I'm not judging anybody who does that, but
I mean, you're
yeah,
judging me for it,
I will
so
judge you.
yeah, you'll
I'm
judge
allowed
me.
to.
She does on the daily, and it hurts my feelings.
Oh no. Okay.
Wow. See what I mean?
So, they had also hired a security company to look for handwriting matches, and again, they hired a renowned forensic linguist and even sought out to maybe hire someone who might be able to hack into the neighbor's Wi-Fi to look for anything incriminating, which is both illegal and impossible. You can't hack into somebody's Wi-Fi to get on their computer files. That's not how it
Yeah, that's
works.
not how it works at
That's not
all.
how it works.
It's
So,
actually surprisingly easy to hack into people's public Wi-Fi.
yeah,
You can literally go on Amazon. I think it's called a pineapple. Uh,
the Raspberry Pi?
no, it's called like a pineapple stick or something like that, and it's like a little device you can plug into like a laptop, and it'll just straight up just hack into public Wi-Fi.
Huh,
Which is why I refuse to connect to public Wi-Fi ever, even at like Starbucks or whatever.
interesting.
Nope, I will never ever connect to
You
public
know,
Wi-Fi.
for the longest time, I didn't know that AirDrop was a thing. So,
I've never used that feature.
I've never used it either, and people are always like, "Yeah, they," or well, I read on like the internet that like somebody like just creepy encounters, somebody will be like, "Yeah, I was in a coffee shop and some dude like airdropped me a dick pic," and it's like, "Oh,
What?
okay."
That's disgusting.
So even after like doing all that with like hiring the linguist, you know, trying to hire a hacker for the Wi-Fi, I guess, uh, nothing came up, obviously, and everything was a dead end. So the beginning of their investigation didn't really work out. So they were basically at square one. And going over the case again, it was actually found that the investigation had missed one crucial clue. Another family on Boulevard. I guess it's okay. So this was weird because even when I was typing it out, it's not like Boulevard Street; it's just Boulevard.
Just
Um,
Boulevard
it's just
on
Boulevard.
Boulevard.
Yeah. So another family on Boulevard had actually received a letter that was similar to the ones the Broadduses were getting. So
Okay.
which is like I get why they didn't know that had happened because they were keeping it a secret, but like that's a pretty big deal.
Just a little. I mean, hey, they're getting the same exact
Right.
letter. Was it like the same handwriting too?
Um,
Or is that just
well, unfortunately,
oh.
same with the Woods, the parents that lived in the neighborhood for a while and their kids had grown, moved out, and they tossed the letter.
What?
Very much like how the
I
Woods did
mean,
it.
I hate that that happens, but I totally
I
understand.
understand. Yeah.
Like,
It's just one of those like, "God, I wish, hindsight's always 2020, but like I wish they would have kept it."
see, like me hearing that is like, see, why didn't they just keep the letter? And here I am, like the second I get a letter, I'm like, this is junk, and I just immediately throw it away. So,
So there was one event where a car had actually pulled in front of the house for a very suspiciously long time, while Chambliss was actually staking it out. And when he looked into to the driver of this car, he found that there was a girl, and this girl was the girlfriend of a boy who lived on the same block of the home. The two were asked by Chambliss to come into an interview, and the girl only spoke of how her boyfriend was into quote unquote dark games.
um, what?
And
Like we talk about like Magic the Gathering or like
um I I don't know. I don't know. I would assume like horror games. So one of these dark games that she was talking about, actually the main character was named the Watcher.
oh,
So
okay. I mean, immediate red
Chambliss,
flag.
yeah, Chambliss is like cool. So the I did try to research a game, a quote unquote dark game, like I was trying to think of any games that I knew that had the Watcher in it. And then I tried to like look up different games that would have the main character of the Watcher in it. And the only one I could really find with uh, any lore was the game called Myth. I don't know what that is. I've never played it. I've never really heard of it before this case, but it's kind of an older game.
Like a board game?
No, 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 it's like a video
Oh,
game.
I know Myth.
I have never.
Uh, Bungie, the people who made Halo, made that game.
Oh, well, the main character in that is apparently called the Watcher, and apparently her boyfriend was super into this game. So
Well, I mean, I never played it personally, but it was like very like Doom 94 vibe or
nice.
whatever year that original Doom came out. It was very pretty much that game, but like more sci-fi ish.
Yeah, it looked very sci-fi. So the boyfriend actually never came in for questioning, and obviously he couldn't be forced to, but
I was about to say, isn't that illegal?
yeah, I mean it's technically kidnapping, but realistically this just kind of ended up in a dead end. So
Oh, okay. Now I'm kind of curious. Maybe he never came in because he was the Watcher.
or didn't feel like it cuz I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe it was
Maybe.
ridiculous to
Maybe they
him.
should have like offered. I'll pay you
I'll buy
$15.
you a pizza.
Something. I'd go for that. All right, free food, bet.
So let's kind of put some facts together at this point because that's really all we have on 657 Boulevard. There's not a lot. There's a lot of media around it, but
Do you think we'll ever know who it was?
I don't think so. I really don't.
What was that?
Unless the Watcher actually comes out and is like, "Hey, I did it." During this time, Westfield was compared by many residents to be like that of something quote unquote you would see on the Andy Griffith Show or the Truman Show. They said it was a place where many residents had prosperous lives and not many things to worry about. The biggest issue in Westfield was dealing with a roof collapse at Trader. This is from the article I was reading from the reporter who posted it. The biggest issue Westfield was dealing with was a roof collapse at Trader Joe's and what they considered quote unquote unconstitutional policing, which is what they considered aggressive parking enforcement. So it was pretty much like this place is being described as like, your upper class society, basically.
Oh, gotcha.
So to have something like what was going on with the Broadduses was a big issue because they're like, we don't want to make it look like we're,
In a bad
in a
neighborhood.
bad neighborhood. We've got to keep up appearances.
You're bringing our property value down.
Right. So Westfield is 45 minutes from New York State, and the town was made up of 30,000 residents, predominantly white families. 86% of the families were actually white. During these events in 2014, Westfield was named by NeighborhoodScout.com as the country's 30th safest town, which is weird. Um, and in 2018 was ranked by Bloomberg as the 99th richest city in America,
Hmm.
which is also crazy.
I wish we had a population of like 30,000. I'm tired of all the people here. Just leave.
More coming.
We
Yeah.
got too many.
Yeah, think about that. 30,000 residents and it's the 99th richest city. Crazy. So,
So like the
too many rich
I mean,
people.
well, I mean, like they just casually dropped 1.3 million on a house. So
Yeah, too many rich people. Anyway, eat the rich.
eat the rich.
When it comes to the case, 657 Boulevard was heralded as one of the most desirable homes on Boulevard. Many stating that if you lived on the street, you made it, basically. Many of the homes have been subject to bidding wars that were won by margins of $300,000 as bidders rose their stakes by
What?
$300,000. So, like, this is just kind of painting a picture of what this neighborhood is like, basically.
Okay.
I just couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine.
Just casually being like, oh, this house is worth this much. I'm gonna go up
Yeah,
$300,000 of that though because I
insane.
really want it.
Yeah, absolutely
Wow.
insane. So, another theory presented is that the Broadduses went through buyer's remorse or realized they couldn't actually afford the home. And they made this like elaborate plot to get out of the sale. So, a lot of people were also speculating that they were trying to,
But that
uh,
wouldn't explain the letters from the other two families though.
well, they could have been sending them to them.
But that far
The
in advance?
Woods, well, the Woods family received it like very close to when they sold the house, like within weeks of selling the Broadus as their house.
Mhm.
So they might have been setting it up. In this scenario, they could have been setting it up.
Um,
Again,
and
I don't know when the other family in the neighborhood got their letter, but
but, I mean, that seems to be a little, you know, counterproductive. Like, what's the point of actually, getting the house for 1.3 million and then being like, "Nah, I wanna get out of the contract," but,
right,
like, they planned it?
right. Well, I mean, because looking at it now, you could do book deals. There's been movies on it. Maybe that was the end goal. To maybe try to
Um,
make more money from the story. But again, they can't sell the house. Nobody's buying it. So they're still paying the mortgage on it. I mean, they have renters, but they're not even renting for the amount that the mortgage payment is. So it's like, it's
I mean,
just
that
a weird
mortgage payment's gotta
theory.
be, like, $3,000
I
a
have
month.
no idea and I don't want to know. Some do speculate the angle that the family was looking into making a movie deal off the experience, like we said. There was a movie made in 2016 based off of the experience. I haven't seen it, obviously. It was released by Lifetime Movie Network. And
Yeah, I'm
this,
I'm pretty sure my mom's seen it. She loves
oh,
Lifetime.
really? I used to watch a lot of Lifetime. Yeah. Although, like, there's this one movie. I don't know what it's called. I'm going to have to, I think it was Jessica's Body or something
Oh,
like that.
Jennifer's Body?
No, 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 no. It was the baby's name was Jessica, so it was like Jessica. It was something like Jessica's Body or My Daughter Jessica or something like that.
Oh,
And it was
okay.
about a baby, and there was like a big plot twist in it because the mom was like slowly going crazy, and she kept thinking the dolls were the baby or the baby were the dolls. And
What?
at the end of the movie, she ends up killing the baby.
That does not sound like a Lifetime
Um,
movie.
yeah, it was just it was on Lifetime, and I very specifically remembered because I was like, "How is this on Lifetime?" So
I'm kinda interested in that, not gonna lie,
I
though. That
I'm gonna have to.
sounds
I really have to
awesome.
look it up, and then I'll send it to you. But yeah. So Lifetime Movie Network released it after many networks actually came to the Broadus family and were like, "Hey, can we make a movie out of your story?" The Broadus family, because obviously it hasn't been solved, turned all of these things down, all of the offers down, and they had actually served Lifetime a cease and desist over the movie that was released.
Hmm.
The theory that the family may have held regret over the new purchase was brought on by those who discovered that the family had, over the course of a decade, and again, I don't agree with this because you can make yourself, you can work really hard to move up in life. So I don't agree with this one. But people had found out that over the course of just a decade, the family had upgraded from a $315,000 home to then a $770,000 home, and then to the $1.3 million 657 Boulevard Street home.
Well, if you sell the house,
If you sell the house, if because again, with the house flipper thing, you buy a house, you flip it, you sell it for more, then you can move on to you can move
yeah.
up.
So, I
So I
mean,
don't agree with
that's
it.
yeah, like, that's and plus it doesn't seem like I mean, granted, I mean, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, but,
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like that big of a jump, honestly.
it's
Now, if they
really
would
not.
sell,
I mean,
a
it is almost doubling every time, like very close to doubling every time, but it's really not that. You know,
yeah, but, if
it's
you
doable.
buy the house for 300,000, sell it for 350, congrats, you now have 350 that you can throw down on another
Right,
house.
exactly right.
So, I don't know.
I
That seems like
disagree
a
with it.
little
It's a stretch.
yeah.
So this theory did become ridiculous too, as a new newspaper had published an article citing several rumors by anonymous neighbors about the renovations, and people actually started talking about Maria's concern over the safety of their children because she was posting pictures of the children on her Facebook. So the neighborhood was getting really catty and being like, well, if she's so concerned about their safety, why is she posting pictures of them?
Well, there's
And I
so
mean, you can private your Facebook,
yeah,
I
like, you
I don't know
can
if she did that, but
but, I mean, even then, like, what's posting a picture on Facebook gonna do?
yeah, exactly. If they're watching the house and watching the children, they know what they look like, you know?
Like, they'd literally specifically be
What
like,
is
"Oh, this is that child's bedroom,"
Yeah,
or, "I
like
see them painting out in the backyard," type of thing.
right,
Like,
exactly right. It's like
they're already,
it's not going to give them more information that they can't just get that they already have,
right, so, like, who
And
cares? And plus,
I
it's
don't know.
just pictures.
It's weird.
Now, granted, if you're like posting like certain aspects of like the child,
Yeah.
like, oh,
Like, here's where they go to school, or, you
yeah,
know,
or like
she's sick
this is the
today.
time they go to bed every night
Yeah.
in this exact
Which
bedroom.
nobody does that. So, the article also noted that the DNA test found on the letters did not match Maria's. So, it did rule her out as well as a suspect.
I'm really curious about this DNA.
I know.
It's bothering me.
All of the theories are obviously under scrutiny. There's no real logical answer to the case. There's a lot of different ways it could have gone. We may never know. We might know. What bothered the family the most, though, obviously, is the fact that Maria had grown up in the neighborhood, and it was strange that it was horrible that they were being ostracized because people in the neighborhood were pretty much referring to them as scam artists, and
I
these are
mean, if
people
they're
that she had
scam
known for almost
artists,
her whole life.
If they're scam artists, they're either really dumb scam artists or they're
Right.
playing the long game and they are absolute geniuses.
Just waiting for that one, that
Like,
one deal.
honestly.
So it was really horrible for Maria to, on top of dealing with the watcher, also dealing with basically her neighbors being like, "You're a scam artist. Like, we don't want you here." So Derek did feel that the letters were too strange of a thing for the neighborhood to experience, as nothing like this had obviously ever happened before. And he was pretty much like, it's threatening their safety or their feeling of safety. So he was like, that's the only reason they're lashing out. Maria does remember an incident when she was a kid where a Westfield resident named John Bliss, which we might do in the future, murdered
Oh,
his wife, his mother, and his three children in their home
what?
in Westfield. There weren't always good things happening in the neighborhood, obviously. So she's like, I didn't murder my family. I'm literally getting creepy letters. So why is this worse than when John List murdered his family?
Do you think that this is a neighborhood ploy to get them to move out just because they didn't like them?
It could have, yeah, I think about that all the time. It's like, did they orchestrate this as a neighborhood because they don't like them or something? I don't know.
If so, that's
It's horrible.
scummy.
Yeah, it's scummy. People do speculate that the residents didn't want to ruin the quote unquote good name of the community with the strange circumstances that were happening. And like you said, potentially ruin their property value. So the family decided they weren't going to let bad stigma or like a strange dude, the watcher, ruin a good life for them, and they ended up borrowing money from friends and family and purchased another home, also in Westfield, using an LLC to keep the location private in 2016.
So,
So,
they just know a lot of rich people? How do you borrow enough
I
money to buy
guess
another house in the same
friends,
neighborhood?
friends and
Hello?
family, apparently.
What?
They were obviously still concerned of the watcher,
Of course.
and you know they were still being victimized by the stigma that they were receiving from their neighbors.
Yeah.
But they tried to do what they could and make the best of the situation. So, with their lawsuit against the Woods still pending, they continued to attempt to sell the home, even considering renting it out to the Department of Veteran Affairs or a company that runs a halfway home, which I don't know how how well that would have even gone over with Westfield. So it was required still that they disclose the matter of the letters, even with whoever they were going to sell the home to. So that was still an issue, and it still made it difficult because of all the false offers that were coming in for the scoop.
Yeah.
And after an open house that was filled with potential buyers and learning more of the letters, every person backed out that went to the house.
That sucks, man.
It really does. So they kind of felt like they were out of options at this point, and their real estate lawyer proposed that they sell a house to a developer who could tear it down and split the property into two homes on the same like land.
That's a good idea. You
Um,
can make money on that.
right, and it was thought that they could at least get 1 million for the plot, but it was hard to do. Like it was this plan didn't really go through because the neighborhood did not like the idea like at all of having two smaller homes on a plot. They wanted the big, gorgeous Brada,
Yeah.
the 367 Boulevard, you know?
You gotta have the big houses, not none of that
Right.
plebeian duplex stuff.
Right. So they actually ended up protesting it, and it went to the Westfield Planning Board. The Broadduses actually went to the Westfield Planning Board to get an exception. The land being split would give the two plots a measurement of 67.4 and 67.6 feet wide, which was just shy of the mandated 70 feet requirement.
Wow.
So they couldn't do it. They couldn't get an exception from the board. A lot of residents cited that it was just another way to extort more money by the Broadduses.
I'm
So
convinced that
there's
these
still
neighbors of this neighborhood just absolutely
I
hate this
just I
family.
just it's not their fault that they're getting sent weird letters, you know? But now they're all convinced that they're doing it themselves.
That
So
wow.
the planning board met to decide on the application in January of 2017, with over 100 residents of Westfield attending. One of the residents even brought their lawyer to fight against it, which
What?
is crazy. Like,
All right, no, for real though. These people in this neighborhood are assholes. Like,
yeah, they're the
God.
worst. They're the worst. So after many, many hours of arguments, there were a couple of counter arguments by some of the neighbors who were, you know, soft on the Broadduses because they did see that, you know, regardless of the situation, this sucks.
Yeah.
Um, the board unanimously rejected the proposal. And not much long after that, a family had agreed to rent out the home. So this was a family that had children and two large dogs. The father told the media that he wasn't worried about the watcher in the first place, but there was a clause in the rental agreement that would let them leave in the event of another letter showing up. So,
So I assume after, well, first of all, it's kind of weird how, you know, when the original family moves in, they start getting these letters. And then all of a sudden, when they start trying to leave and do all this other stuff to try to alleviate environment that they're in with the
mhm,
whole letter thing, they try to
yeah,
leave, do that whole thing, yada, yada, yada. They try to do different options. And the neighborhood themselves is like, no, you just need to deal with it and leave, cut your losses
yeah,
type of thing and just leave. You're not doing anything to our property value. But the second that this other family moves in, one, the letters stop. And two, from what so far, like, none of the neighbors are harassing them.
right. So, yeah, so far that we know, they hadn't ever been harassed.
So it's the
So,
neighborhood. It's the homeowners association that's doing this. Called it case solved.
pay me.
I'll
So
take
yeah,
my plaque.
the 2 weeks after the agreement was done, the renter presented Derek with a letter that had shown up and dated February 13th, the day the Broadduses gave depositions to their lawsuit against the Woods.
Damn it.
So
My theory is gone. I no longer am deserving.
they did get another letter. So, and interestingly, again, this letter showed up the day the Broadduses gave the deposition in their lawsuit against the Woods. So, this is what the letter said. Violent winds and bitter cold, to the vile and spiteful Derek and his wench of a wife Maria. You wonder who the watcher is? Turn around, idiots. Maybe you even spoke to me, one of the so called neighbors who has no idea who the watcher could be. Or maybe you do know and are too scared to tell anyone. Good move. I walked by the news trucks when they took over my neighborhood and mocked me. I watched as you watched from the dark house in an attempt to find me. Telescopes and binoculars are wonderful inventions. 657 Boulevard survived your attempted assault and stood strong with its army of supporters barricading its gates. My soldiers of the Boulevard followed my orders to a T. They carried out their mission and saved the soul of 657 Boulevard. With my orders, all hail the Watcher. Maybe a car accident,
Wait.
maybe a fire, maybe something as simple as a mild illness that never seems to go away but makes you feel sick day after day, after day, after day, after day. Maybe the mysterious death of a pet. Loved ones suddenly die. Planes and cars and bicycles crash all the time. Bones break. That's it.
All right.
So it's getting much more threatening.
Yes.
My thing is at the very beginning, it's like turnaround idiots. And like one of the theories was that maybe the neighbors in the back who could see into the backyard.
Well, here's my thing. The dude's name or lady is known as the Watcher.
Right.
Now, when a neighborhood collectively gets together to watch over the neighborhood, what are they called?
I mean, they're the neighborhood watch.
Boom, bro. You think you're clever? Just turn around. We are the Watch.
Solved it. Got it.
Hello?
You got it.
I
Here's your plaque.
am a genius.
You got it. So, yeah. Not only that, but like this is getting a lot more threatening. You know, car accidents, maybe it's a fire, maybe something like
I'm
an
going to kill your
illness.
dog.
Your dog, like come on. So, this obviously struck Maria very hard because she's like,
Well, and she was called a wench, which I
and she
feel
was
like is
called a
one of
witch,
like
so like rude,
I
but
know it's like such a bad insult. Like it doesn't sound that bad, but like
right.
it just has like a different connotation to
Yeah,
it. Like
it's
it
it's
just
like
feels
an
personal.
it's a weird sting, you
Yeah.
know. The only good thing about this letter coming out is that now they have another piece of evidence. Unfortunately, there still wasn't much for the investigators to go on, and to this day, the home is rented out to newer tenants. Um, the rent doesn't come close, again, like I said, to covering up the covering the mortgage, but the family does feel safe, and that's really all that kind of matters to them at this point. Um,
I mean, couldn't they just stop paying for it
and file for bankruptcy.
or just foreclose the house?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't
why
know. I don't know the
why
penalties associated with
I
that.
mean,
I've never
granted,
had a
if
house.
if it forecloses, it'll be on your record for like 10 years, but if you already
Right.
have a house, I think you'll be okay.
I don't know.
So, I don't know why they're still paying for it.
Well, the renter, I don't know. I don't know.
I
It's
mean, I guess at this point they're probably like, "Well, we can't do that because then they'll get kicked out and whatnot." So, I mean, I guess, but I don't know.
yeah.
I
I
feel
think
like
they would
if you
just
feel
rather sell it if anything.
yeah, but if I feel like you're being threatened and you feel safer elsewhere, I don't think foreclosing on the house would be that
Yeah.
big of a deal in the end. But, I
To
don't know
each
their
their own.
situation fully. I don't know what they were thinking going through,
Yeah, I've
things
never
like
been through
that.
this. This is insane. So they do to this day again avoid trying or they try to avoid being bothered by media that still spreads rumors about what's actually happening. Neighborhood residents still speak against the family, stating things like they wish tar and feathers were still a thing that they could use on people. Which, come on,
What?
um, and there are again with every case, you've got those ones who romanticize it, and they're like, well, some of the comments that are left on, you know, I guess either with like newspaper articles or on social media about this case, some of the neighborhood people think that the letters were like weirdly poetic. Um,
I mean, I feel like the Zodiac killer's letters were much more poetic than this. This just feels like somebody trying to creep some people out.
right.
The Zodiac actually did things,
Yeah.
which, not
Horrific
trying to,
things.
give the Zodiac
Minimize it.
killer any, credit or anything like that,
Right.
but I feel like in terms of, I guess, quote unquote romanticizing something, I think
It's just weird.
it's just weird.
It's just weird. I don't know why. So, pretty much the whole attitude of the neighborhood at Westfield is that it's a thing of the past and they don't really acknowledge it too much unless it comes to the Broadduses trying to do something with the house other than sell it. And pretty much that's all we have.
Ugh.
That's the end of the case so far. It's still unsolved. We might solve it in the future. We might not. Who
Like,
knows? But
I'm really hoping we do.
I hope we do. I wonder who it is. Maybe it is a conspiracy and it's the whole neighborhood, you know.
I still hope one day the Zodiac killer one will be solved too.
Yeah. Did you know that the letter I didn't actually know this, but the letter that they had just deciphered like a few months ago, the Zodiac killer had actually the reason this one was so important is that the Zodiac killer was actually said to have he was going to name himself in this letter.
Yeah, but
So,
he
and
never
he didn't.
did. He never did.
because he's a tit, but, you know,
He was about the kind of, I guess, chase. You know,
no,
he wanted to
he
keep
plays
that up.
mind games. He doesn't
Yeah,
wanna give himself up. He's
like how he purposefully.
a big baby and probably is terrified of prison,
Yeah,
you know,
he like, I mean, he would purposely
wants to
misspell
act
things just
big.
because he thought it was funny,
Yeah,
like spelling Christmas like Christmas
nice.
with 2
So,
S's. So,
big wild.
anyways, if you want to learn more about the Zodiac Killer, check out our episode that we did on him.
So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed 657 Boulevard. It was a lot. There's a lot of information as well as there's really not a lot of information, unfortunately.
I hope one
And
day this will be solved.
I hope one day it does get solved because this drives me nuts.
And it
It's like,
turns out it
look.
was the Neighborhood Watch, and then I get, you know, a Nobel Peace Prize and just lots of accolades and awards.
So let us know what you guys think. If you feel so inclined, we would love to see reviews from you guys on Apple or send us a message.
Yeah,
You
let us
know,
know how we're doing. If you have any recommendations
yeah.
or,
Or listener stories, put those in my email box.
yeah, if you have
My
any
email
listener
box.
stories, if you've ever experienced getting weird letters in your mailbox,
Send them to our
sell them
mailbox
to our
on the
mailbox
internet.
at whatsleeppodcast@gmail.com.
And we'll see you guys next week.
We will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.